welcome back to the Movies Made Us Do It. How are you doing, Matt?
I'm pretty good, so yourself?
I'm alright, yeah, I'm doing good. It's been, I've been like ridiculously busy with work and just like super stressed at the end of a day. So I've been trying to find, I was like, I just need to watch stuff that I can just not even need to watch, it's just on and I can just relax to it. So I've been rewatching Star Trek, like all of it.
The movies?
All of it. Just
the
all
series?
of it. All of it.
Oh, okay.
Just the lot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of halfway through watching Enterprise and the original series again. So
nice. So
I'm sort of alternating, basically.
So, well, it's funny you should say that. So I finished. I did the original series back during the lockdown.
Yeah.
So I thought I won't go back and do that because I did that quite recently. So I've started with TNG. And I'm alternating, so I'm watching TNG, and I've decided this time, because the way I watch Star Trek now, the way you watch any show, I think, when you know it really well, is you don't really watch every episode. You kind of pick and choose the episodes you want to watch.
Yeah, definitely.
So I've made a conscious decision this time. I'm like, no, I'm watching all of it. Like every episode.
Especially if it's a Troy episode.
But you know what? There have been a few. Because normally, if I start an episode and Troy's face comes up immediately, I'm like, oh, no, skip. But there are some good ones.
Are some good ones.
And I have found two things that have surprised me so far. Because when I felt like I needed a break from TNG, I've gone to Voyager. Because there's something about schlocky Voyager that's quite fun sometimes. It's just nonsense.
Yeah.
Fun. Two things have struck me. One is there are a lot more good episodes of Voyager than I gave it credit. Like, I'm surprised. Some episodes I'm like, oh, this is actually a really good episode. Because I always used to say, like, I could name all of the good Voyager episodes on one hand.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's the case actually now, rewatching it.
Well, see, it's funny you should say that, because I started rewatching it, was it last year? And I didn't get through it. I'm
about season 3 now. And I'm enjoying it for the most part. There is a lot of trash, like a hell of a lot of trash.
There's so much crap, though. Yeah, I think...
Really?
And I think the main problem I had, which I've said on many occasions, is I just don't really like any of the crew except for the Doctor.
The Doctor is...
Kim's okay.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I quite like Kim. The Doctor is literally like, he is the best character by far. And I think he has the best character arc.
Yeah, he totally does.
Chakotay, Jesus Christ, they would never do Chakotay nowadays. That is so offensive. Like, it's offensive even at the time it came out, but now it's like, oh my God. Janeway has her moments, like...
Yeah, Janeway does have her moments. She has some real kick-ass stuff, which is really good. But then she'll sort of fall back into whining, and it's like, oh God, really?
She makes some really dumb decisions as well.
She really does,
which is kind of off-putting. But I've enjoyed it a lot more than I thought.
And I can't stand Paris.
Yeah, Paris is awful, and Paris doesn't improve either.
No, he does. He really doesn't. There are times when him and B'Elanna have some interesting moments, but that's about it.
And I think that's more B'Elanna than him.
Yeah,
if I'm honest, he doesn't learn or change much at all, which is weird because they literally opened the show with him. Like, it literally opens with them going to the prison camp or whatever, and she's like, I want to give you a second chance. And you think, like...
I think they waste that as well.
Yeah, they waste it. They waste a lot of things. I mean, the concept of the show is kind of wasted because they don't go full completely on. And obviously the guy who started Voyager ended up doing Battlestar, which is effectively what Voyager was planned to be originally. And you kind of... That's the problem with Voyager. You see what it could have been, and it's so much more frustrating.
Yep. And it's worse when we talk about probably one of its best episodes, which is the Year of Hell,
which should have been the show.
Which should have been what the show was like. They should have basically committed to it. It would have been jarring, I think.
Oh, but it would have been awesome.
I think people would have gone with it because it would have been so different from the rest, and it wouldn't have been a detriment to it, I don't think.
Yeah, and I think to begin with, you could have started with things being like Voyager is, and then, like, maybe like season 3 onwards, things start getting a bit more, like things start getting tougher and tougher and tougher and tougher. That would have been great. But yeah, I've been enjoying Voyager a lot more than I was expecting. The other shocking thing I've realized and I've come to terms with is that if I was in charge of Star Trek in the 80s, Next Gen wouldn't have got a second season. Like, season 1 is fucking terrible. Like, there are some episodes in there, but my God, it's so
there
like...
There are some episodes in it that are so stunning, and you're like, okay, if they were all like this, it would be brilliant. But yeah, it's...
They were just terrified to commit. They were terrified to commit to Picard and diplomacy, and it's really... It's like an awful... it's so 60s Star Trek, but in the 80s, and it just doesn't...
But without any of the personalities.
Without any of the personalities. And you can tell they've got Riker just waiting there, just in case Picard doesn't work out, so they can kick Picard out and have Riker take over. Season 2, they were obviously like, fuck it, this the experiment works. You can gain all the weight you want, Riker, and grow a beard. It doesn't matter anymore. You're fine.
Plus, I think none of them thought that it was going to continue. So I don't think almost anybody completely committed to the first season anyway.
But the jump in quality from season 1 to season 2 is fucking incredible. Like almost immediately. Season 2 is like 150% better than any episode of season 1. It's just immediately. It's great. But yeah, I've been really enjoying doing that. So
I think one of the weirdest things for me, rewatching Next Generation as well, but from when I watched it the first time round, is how much I missed Yar the first time round, and how much I loved Yar.
Yes.
And rewatching it, it's like you don't really miss her, to be honest.
She's kind of a nothing character, and
I think.
Yesterday's Enterprise makes her way better.
Yeah, Yesterday's Enterprise is such a great episode.
It makes her way better than she was. I think, and I always think she's better as Sela.
It did
to be
mean, she's much better as Sela.
Yeah.
It also meant that Worf completely got to shine. He got a much better character.
He did. He definitely improved from that.
I'm not sure how Worf would have continued if Yar was still there.
I think he would have stayed a one-note character.
Yeah,
to be
I
honest.
think so. I think he would have been more in the background, probably.
He would have just been like the angry Klingon and nothing more. But you get those really great episodes, like the bonding I watched a couple of days ago, where that he's in charge of an away team where this kid's mother dies, and he ends up sort of taking the responsibility for this kid's mother's death and stuff. Worf gets some really interesting stuff that he never would have gotten. That would have been Tasha Yar getting that, and then Worf would have just done nothing. But it's been fun. And I guess we'll talk about that more next week, because this week we're talking Die Hard.
We are.
Your choice, and a good choice it was. I
mean, it was a lazy choice, but it was. But it's again, Christmas, and I think it's a great Christmas movie. I don't care what anybody says.
It's a great movie. And I is it a Christmas movie? Is it not a Christmas movie? I don't give a shit. It's a good movie. It is a Christmas movie. It's completely a Christmas movie. It's definitely a Christmas movie.
It's about a guy going home to his family for Christmas. It's literally that. It's a story of a guy going back and getting back with his wife.
Yeah.
What's more Christmassy than that?
And also watching it with an eye to review. You kind of notice more of a movie than when you're just watching it. And like the whole score is Christmas songs, which I love. It's like Christmas songs. It's like, or it's got elements of Christmas songs in the score, all the way through the movie. It's fantastic. I love it. So yes, 1988. Yes, 1988. And starring Bruce Willis, obviously, and. Well, should we just go through it?
I mean, Bruce Willis's first major role,
and arguably which was his best.
Arguably his best, yes. Although I do have a real soft spot for Hudson Hawk.
I thought you were going to say that. Yeah, I like Hudson Hawk too.
And I did love. I was also a fan in the 80s of Moonlighting, so I already knew who he was.
Yeah. It was a big step for him, though.
Yeah, it was, and he had a massive. He got what was at the time a big paycheck for it as well, which I think pissed off a lot of other stars.
Yeah, I'm sure it did. I mean, I don't know how many people passed up on this movie before he got it. It kind of feels like something that was probably, passed up by, Stallone and a few others before it got to him.
I think it was, but also I think they wanted Arnie for it. You think, God, how much different would that have been? This movie would have been with Arnie. It would have been less, every man, wouldn't it?
It's funny. I actually made a note while I watched this, and I was going to mention it later, but I'll just mention it now that you've brought up Arnie. Where was it? It was like it must have been about halfway through the movie. I've just made a note that said, imagine how much worse this film would be if it starred Steven Seagal.
Oh, God.
Like, because it's like Under Siege, right? It's like very similar in plot. But how much really worse would this movie have been if Steven Seagal was in it instead of Bruce Willis? Like, it just, like, every scene would have been worse. It's a really interesting movie because it wouldn't have worked with Steven Seagal. It wouldn't have worked with Arnold. No. I think it maybe would have worked with Stallone, but even then, Stallone's too built and perfect, and he's just not like. It had to be the everyman, and Bruce Willis. He's obviously in shape, and he's obviously fit and healthy. But he's not this muscle guy. He doesn't know martial arts.
Definitely not.
No, definitely not. He has like zero grace. And that's what I love about this movie. It's just how like gross and disgusting he gets.
At this time, Steven Seagal was actually, I think, bankable though. So
he was. Yeah.
And I liked Seagal back then. So you know.
Oh no! I loved Seagal's old movies. I love, but he would not have worked in this movie.
No, and I don't think he's as good at that. I mean,
no.
Bruce Willis isn't the greatest of actors. He's very good comedically, but he's not the greatest of actors. And I think Seagal really isn't. He wouldn't have been able to pull off the charm.
I think Seagal's Seagal was a martial artist first and an actor second, really. I think. Like, I don't think he was ever a particularly good actor. They wanted him for his, at the time, very unique style of martial art.
And there was a lot of guys like that at that point as well.
Absolutely.
Martial artists that were not actors. And some of them were better than others, but but
here we have someone who can act, and back then it's easy to forget as well, because in my opinion Bruce Willis is so fucking lazy these days and just doesn't really act. But you go back to his earlier movies and he really was a good actor back in the day.
I think he just stopped enjoying it. I think he just turns up for a paycheck now. I think that's it. And I don't think he really. I'm sure he doesn't need it, so I don't know why he keeps doing stuff.
That's the weird thing, isn't it?
He just appears in the worst movies these days, and it's like, it's like a 10-minute cameo. He walks on, grunts his lines, and walks off. And it's like, why are you doing this? You clearly don't like doing it, so why are you still doing it?
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? I can't remember what movie I watched. I watched a movie a couple of months back, I want to say. And like, it was some fucking awful movie, and then suddenly Bruce Willis turned up, and I'm like, why are you in this? Like, just collect a fucking paycheck and just don't give a shit, you know? Like, I can't remember what movie that was now, but it was something where you're like, this is like a sequel to a rubbish movie, and like, why are you in this at all? It's weird.
I still haven't seen Glass.
No, I haven't.
It's one of those like missing, because I love the first one, and I really like the second one. And I just haven't got
I really liked that movie. Split? Was it Split or something like that?
Split was the second one.
Yeah, I really liked that one. That was good. That was like a surprise good movie.
It really was.
I wasn't expecting much from that at all, and I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I haven't seen Glass yet. I might give that a go soon. But yeah.
And then of course, on the opposite spectrum, you've got Alan Rickman. This is his first proper movie as well.
Well, Rickman...
He'd only been, in a few bits and pieces on TV and stuff, and I think he'd appeared in one other movie, but it was just a minor role.
He is superb in this film.
Yeah,
he's absolutely superb.
He's probably stunning in everything he does. He did probably, to be honest, but
but when you talk about like a first outing, first big movie outing for the two leads. It's amazing that they did as well as they did, and it's amazing that they put the money into it.
His accent drops in and out throughout the movie, which is quite funny, I think.
Yeah, he's kind of the
English comes through too much.
It does, although the way he speaks, that very clean English that he speaks, does almost sound like a German trying to do English.
Yeah,
in a weird way.
It probably does add to the fact that he's supposed to be sort of, classically educated and stuff. So it sort of works.
Kind of. So, should we go through the movie as we tend to do? I've got the plot up in front of me, so we can follow through. So it's Christmas Eve, 1998, and John McClane, who is 1988. Sorry, I've already failed at reading this. Fuck this right up already. It's in the future.
A future movie?
No, because if it was made in 1988 and set in 1998, it would have had like flying cars and it would just be like absolutely ridiculous.
It would have been like Cyberpunk 77 at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Christmas Eve 1988, and NYPD Detective John McClane has gone to Los Angeles, trying to reconcile with Holly, his estranged wife. And his wife is part of the Nakatomi Corporation, and they are having...
She's like the second there, isn't she? I think, basically.
I believe so. Yeah. Like she's second in
or
command.
At least she's with the douchebag.
Ellis, is it? The
Ellis.
Asshole.
I think they look like they're sort of a similar level, don't they?
I almost wondered when I was watching this. I wondered whether they were competing for like second place, because
I think that might be the case.
Because like Ellis clearly wants to move up.
She probably puts in all the hard work, and he's the gab.
Oh yeah,
he's got all the all the slick lines and stuff.
He's so fucking unlikable. It's amazing.
I know.
He's amazing. He's really like the guy playing him is just like, oh my god.
There is something I will point out later on when we get to it that I will say about him, but we'll talk about that later. Yeah,
he's great.
And I've only seen him in a few other roles. I've not seen him in an awful lot.
I can't really talk of his other roles, but he is so good as this sleazy, horrendous executive. He's just the worst stereotype of a fucking salesman executive.
Yeah, he's like
great.
80s douchebag personified, isn't he?
Properly. And there are a few douchebags in this movie that we'll get to as we go through.
Oh yeah.
So the Nakatomi Corporation are holding their Christmas party, and Holly's an employer. So McClane gets picked up by a limo driver. Argyle, yes, and is.
I would say we've also got to point out the fact that he's on the plane with his gun.
Yeah. Like, I mean, pre 9/11, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. We wouldn't get away with that now.
I wouldn't have thought so. So and of course we get that great scene on the plane as well with the guy giving him the bullshit advice of how you deal with flying, which makes no sense, by the way. He's like, how you deal with flying? Once you've flown and landed and got to your place of wherever you take your shoes off. It's like, no, how does that help you when you're on the plane? Like, how does that help at all? It doesn't help whatsoever. It was like, what are you talking about? That advice doesn't work.
It might make you feel better when you're there, but
that's not what you've got. A fear of flying. You need something that works now. Like if he'd said do that before you fly, then I'd be like, okay, Like, but after. That's like saying, well, if you've got seasickness, the cure for seasickness is like 2 hours. 2 hours later, once you're off the boat, like what? I need it while I'm on the boat.
Dry land.
You'll be fine. Work.
Like, okay.
But in any case, he's picked up by Argyle, the taxi driver, the limo driver, I should say. Sorry, I don't want to lower his standards.
He was an ex-taxi driver.
He was. Yes. He's his first time driving the limo.
He talks too much, and he says he was an ex-cab driver, and they expect that.
Yes, it was his first time driving the limo, wasn't it? I think it's his first drive, and wonderful scene. You just learn so much about McClane in these opening scenes without. It's like effortless, but we know everything we need to know about John McClane and his personality, and Argyle and his personality before they even get to Nakatomi.
Yeah,
before they even get to Nakatomi.
It's really sweet, and I do love the fact that he just gets in the front seat.
Yeah, it's that. See, that's the thing. It's little moments like that just tell us everything we need to know about this character without throwing it in our face. It's just little things like that. It's like, of course he gets in the front of the limo because he's just treating it like a cab. He's not really, like he's just, that's what he is.
I love his whole thing about he gets off the plane, he's walking through the airport, and he's literally just cussing out California all the way through. He's like, fucking California. It's like,
and it's not only is he working class, like one of us, but also when he's given the opportunity to indulge, he doesn't want to. Like, he's just not interested in any of that. He could be in the back of the limo drinking champagne, and he just doesn't give a shit. That's not what he's there for. It's not what he's interested in. He wants to have a chat with the limo driver in the front, like he would a cab driver. They could have sent a yellow cab, and McClane would have been just as happy.
Yep. Probably more happy, to be honest.
Probably more happy. Yeah. So Argyle pulls up and waits for McClane in the garage, because I think McClane's like, I may not be here very long, so just because wasn't he was gonna meet her there and then head off to his hotel, wasn't he? Or to stay with the other cop.
He was gonna stay with another copper who'd retired out there.
Yeah, that's right. So he arrives and he meets up with Holly, meets Dickhead Ellis.
Who's snorting coke off the top of
coke, and I love
her
that.
desk.
I love that line when McClane just looks at him. He's like, "You missed a bit," and just like he doesn't give a shit, but he's just like, they meet.
And I love his whole thing with like, show him the watch, show him the watch, show him the watch.
Oh my god, the fucking
Jesus
Rolex!
Christ,
Yeah, he's such a douche.
Rolex.
He's such a douche. Bochner does such a good job of just being the most hateable person.
Yeah.
He also meets Takagi, who is the owner of, or I guess the CEO of Nakatomi Corporation.
Well, I think he's the boss of the American division.
Yes. Yeah.
So
yeah, the American wing of it. Yeah, you're right. So him and Holly have a little conversation when we learn, their relationship's real rocky, but you get the impression from Holly that she would like to at least keep him around the family.
She's talked to their maid about setting up a bed for him.
Yeah.
His kids clearly miss him, and he has got like good gifts for his kids. He's got like a great big teddy bear and stuff. And, he clearly wants to sort of like get back as well. And we do get that sort of thing when he comes into the building and he says to the security guard, "I'm here to see, Holly McClane." And guy says to him, "Type it into the machine," sort of thing. And he finds that she's not listed as McClane. She's
Gennaro.
Listed as Gennaro. Her maiden name. It's like, oh man.
Yeah.
You do sort of feel sorry for him.
Absolutely. Yeah. Totally. And she tries to explain that using that name was just because wasn't it like the
married woman in a Japanese corporation?
Yeah, something like that. Fair enough. Not really. So McClane decides to change his clothes, and thanks to the moron that he met on the plane, takes his shoes off and tries the gripping your feet into the carpet thing that was suggested,
which he says works. So
yes. Although, like I said, it's after the fact, so I don't really understand.
I'm guessing
but fine.
It's just a thing for relaxing after you've been on a tense flight. I guess
maybe it's relieving tension. Yeah. That makes sense. I can buy that. So while he's changing his clothes, the tower is seized by Hans Gruber and his sort of group of radicals, I guess.
Yeah.
And there's a wonderful scene where we're introduced to Carl and his brother, and his brother Tony, I think it's Tony. He's slowly cutting the wires really carefully, and then Carl comes in with a fucking chainsaw and just starts sawing through. I love that scene again. It's just a humorous and simple way of telling us what these characters are like. What are their personalities?
Just
we know immediately.
A few little minutes, and you've got your character set up. You know that one brother's meticulous, one brother's a blunt instrument.
a thug.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and there's no need for ludicrous over explanation or
nope.
dodgy dialogue.
Reams of dialogue. No, you don't need any of that. You just set it up as quickly as that. It's as brilliant as that.
It's just done.
I love the sort of way that that Rickman just walks in, just completely calm and everything, and there's all these like gunfire going off around him. It's like people rushing around and screaming, and he's just calmly sort of moving along through the sort of crowd, and sort of, it's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, the casting of all of the villains in this movie is great. The criminals are really well cast.
I mean, you've got all of the sort of like, it is. I mean. Not only is this movie a who's who of 80s douchebags,
yeah, it really is.
It's also an 80s who's who of henchmen.
It is.
You've got Al Long, the long-haired, bearded Chinese guy, who is pretty much in every 80s
villain of the 80s movie. Yeah, for sure,
completely, to sort of various degrees. He's in Big Trouble in Little China. I'm sure he's in like most of the Stallone movies.
I'm sure he's in
loads. I'm sure he's in a few of the Arnie movies. I think he might even be in Commando.
He's isn't he? I think, and I could be wrong, but I am pretty sure that he is the henchman who gets the ice cream cone in the back of his head in Last Action Hero. I think it's him. Does, yeah. I think it's him.
He's Genghis Khan in Bill and Ted's as well.
Oh, of course. Yes. Yeah. Wonderful cast. Absolutely wonderful cast. So the tower gets seized by these thugs, and everyone in the tower is taken hostage except for McClane, who manages to escape effectively.
Yeah, he basically hides in the sort of bathroom, doesn't he? Sort of.
Yeah.
Ducks into another room, sort of thing.
Yeah. So Gruber then interrogates Takagi, and I don't know if this was just my dodgy eyesight watching a DVD, but did Nakatomi build a spaceship? Because like they go in this room and there's loads of models. There's like a model of an oil rig, and
there's an oil rig. There's a
building, but in the background, there's something that looks like a spaceship. It looks like the Zephyrin Cochrane's warp ship or something in the background there, without the nacelles. But it's like a weird thing.
And it might be.
I kept going back, and I was like, "What is that?" And I couldn't figure out what it is.
A satellite or something.
It maybe is a satellite. Yeah, I don't know, but my eye was immediately drawn to it, and I was like, "What is that model of?" Because everything else is kind of really, they're really good, but they're all really easily identifiable except for that one. It's in the background, and they don't really draw attention to it, but it's in the background, and I was like, "What is that? What is that?" But anyway. Beside the point.
I'm tempted to bring it up to see if I could find what it was. But
well, I mean, we'll definitely look it up after. It could just be. I'm sure someone's done a video where they identify everything, and it probably isn't. But it just looked like a spaceship to me. It looked like something from The Expanse, I guess. Something like that.
Fair enough.
So he interrogates Takagi for the building's vault code, and here we get a wonderful scene because Gruber says that he plans to steal I think is 640 million in untraceable bearer bonds, and we get this wonderful scene where Takagi is like, no, I'm not going to give you that. I refuse, and Gruber's like, fine, and just blows him away.
Yeah, and he also establishes that he's it's not about. They turn up like as terrorists, but they're not terrorists at all. They're just thieves.
They're thieves, but it just shows because Gruber is so calm and cool and collected, and he knows he doesn't need him necessarily. He's like, well, just do it the hard way. It's fine.
Completely ruthless. Yeah, no, he does exactly. But I think that's one of those things. He has planned for everything. He's got the men are going through the different floors. They're sorting out the lines. They're stripping this. They're setting up ready for like later contingencies with the police. They've got like missiles. They've got everything you could possibly need, except for obviously John McClane. It's the only thing that the only fly in the ointment that they don't. But then again, who would consider that?
Yeah, exactly. Who would? Because also it's not the kind of party that he would be invited to.
No.
So it's like, why they're expecting just a load of corporate morons.
Yeah, and and of course because it's like one, the building isn't finished yet, so it's not going to be completely full, and two, it's Christmas, so most other people would have already gone.
Absolutely. Minimal security.
Exactly, it's the perfect time to set this all up, and and before that, you even get how ruthless the gang are when they kill the security guard. They literally walk in and just shoot him in the head.
Yeah, they just talk. I can't remember what they're talking. I think they're talking about a football game or something, aren't they? And just walk up and shoot him straight in the head. It's fantastic. Takagi gets shot in the head, and then Theo is told, you're going to have to break in the vault the hard way. McClane is watching. He's watching from. Isn't he from one of the ducts or something, or is he just behind? The next room.
He's under the table in the next room.
That's right. And he
knocks the table trying to get out.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. But he then escapes and tries to trigger the fire alarm to get the authorities to turn up. And there's that great scene where he's looking out over the city, and you can see the fire engines coming, and then they obviously get told that it was a false alarm, and they head back.
He gets Gruber tells Theo to cut the lines and then phone them and tell them it was a false alarm. So that's exactly what they do. And they turn around and they drive off.
And it's a great shot. Tony then goes after McClane, or he's sent after McClane, and McClane kills him, and he gets the machine gun.
The whole thing about that scene as well is it's not a standard fight scene. It's not your heroic punch up between two
and this is
martial artists.
Yeah,
it's literally a brawl that ends up with them falling down the stairs, and Carl breaks his neck.
Yeah, and
he doesn't even mean to make him break his neck. No. It's literally the fall kills him. Yeah. It's not it's literally that they fell down the stairs and his neck got broken.
And I noticed it this time, like the sound of his neck breaking at the bottom of the stairs. Like I'd never noticed that before. It was like, oh wow. So Tony's killed by McClane, and McClane uses the radio to contact the Los Angeles Police Department. Who are just awful.
They just like completely like, this is a secure line. You're not allowed to use this. It's like, it's secure line. That's why I'm fucking talking to you.
And then she hears actual gunfire. She actually hears a gunfight going off, and still is like, oh, Sergeant Powell, can you go investigate this? It's probably bullshit. Yeah. Like it's like a crank call. But... Like really? Like you after everything you just heard, that sounded pretty. Like I would have taken that a bit more seriously than she did, to be quite honest with you. I guess like Christmas Eve, she just couldn't be bothered.
No.
But Marco and Heinrich, I only know their names because I'm reading this on Wikipedia. They're sent after McClane, and McClane kills them and recovers the bag of C4 and all the detonators.
That's a bit later. We should mention he with Carl he writes on his jumper.
Oh yeah, of course.
Puts a Christmas hat on him and writes in, "Now I have a machine gun, ho ho ho," and puts him in the lift,
the elevator.
Sends him down to them.
The elevator, because it's in America.
Yes, of course, yes. And then we're of course introduced to Sergeant Powell then as well.
Sergeant Powell, it turns
out, getting all the Twinkies
for his pregnant wife.
Yeah.
Who we later learn she is actually pregnant as well. So he might have been bullshitting, but he was bullshitting with some of the truth in there, which is the best way to lie is to add some truth.
Put a kernel in.
just for good measure. So So yeah, McClane kills Marco and Heinrich, and he gains a bag of C4 explosives and detonators. Powell then turns up.
That's a bit later, isn't it?
No, because then Powell turns up, which is he turns up at the building at this point.
Okay, I thought that he found the detonators a bit later, but yeah, okay.
No, I think I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure the detonators are on these two. And then Powell turns up and he throws one of those two out of the window onto the patrol car, I think. So we get this wonderful scene with Powell turning up, not knowing anything and just assuming it's a crank call, going in, and you get the German guy on the door just put on this real sort of Texan American accent.
And he's there watching a football game,
and he does a really good job. And this is the thing, the villains are smart in this movie, and the way he behaves when he's like, oh yeah, just look around, I don't care, like he does a really good job of selling. Like there's nothing going on. I'm watching this game. I have money on these guys. You get that wonderful framed shot of someone holding a machine gun just just around the corner as Powell approaches.
Come round.
Of course, Powell doesn't end up going that far. He's like, fuck it, I'm done with this.
It's Christmas Eve, I'm going home.
Exactly, Christmas Eve, going home, and he heads back out to his car. At which point, McClane breaks the window with a chair, I think, and then throws Marco's body through the window, who falls down onto the car. And then everyone opens fire, basically. Like, everyone's like, the gig's up. Like, it's just, and of course, we do find out that the Gruber doesn't care. Like, Gruber wants the police to turn up anyway. It's all part of the plan.
Yeah.
He was like, I was expecting it to be a bit later, but fine. They turn up now, it's fine. It's no problem at all. Perfect, yeah. So Powell backs out and across the parking lot and crashes down into this sort of, I don't know, ravine or something.
I think it's just a drop, isn't it?
It's a drop,
into a lower bit of the car park or something.
Yeah, and he then calls in the LAPD, and a SWAT team make their way toward the building.
Well, which is when Paul Gleason turns up, who is like douchebag number 2.
He is oh my god, he is like the most stereotypical chief or deputy chief in this case, like of that proper police chief of the police chief in The Blob, who's just like, deal with it tomorrow, it's nothing, even when things are clearly he's just so dismissive of McClane, and he's like, nothing's going on, this is just the guy who shot you is probably the guy who put the call in, is one guy in there, it's nothing, you're being ridiculous.
And I love it when he says to I do think it's it's almost true though, when he says to him, he's a cop in there. I'm pretty sure he's a cop. He says, "How do you know he's a cop?" He said, because he could tell when a license was fake or not. And he says to him, he could be a bartender for all you know.
Yeah.
Which is one of the only lines which makes him sound like he's actually thinking about it.
Yeah.
And of course, Paul Gleason, of course, most probably famous for playing fucking Vernon in The Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
Where he is an absolute fucking douche.
Yes, he's less douchey here, but that's not saying much.
No.
So he is great as this just fucking bureaucratic, useless deputy chief. We assume the chief's on holiday, I guess, or for Christmas.
I expect so. He's probably at home with his family.
They never mention him, so it's like I guess he's just not even in the city or something. So yes, they decide to send in SWAT.
Yeah.
To deal with it, and SWAT are immediately set upon.
Yeah,
and
they send up the guys to the door, and then they send in the car, don't they? The guy,
slowest moving fucking armored car in history.
Yeah. What I love about one of my favorite little bits, which I always remember from watching this, is when Gruber sends his men down to wait for them and tells them not, to wait until they, don't kill them, just wound them and stuff.
Yeah.
And Al Long, the guy, he's there and he's waiting by the door, by the sort of the entrance, and he basically surreptitiously steals a candy bar and just starts munching on it. I love that.
It's the best kind of product placement. That product placement quite often annoys me in films. But when it's done with a bit of humor, or if it fits into the world, like with Blade Runner, I'm like, fits into the world, is fine. And here, where it's just humorous and just silly, and like, watching that yesterday, I was like, do you know what? I would have been tempted as well while I was there. It's just like,
why not?
Might
as well.
Hershey's though, God, you could have picked a better chocolate.
No,
horrendous stuff.
Yeah.
So the SWAT team are decimated, and they send in for this armored vehicle, which I know they're in a tower and they can see it approaching, but it must be the slowest moving thing, because like it comes around a corner.
Well, I mean, it doesn't need to move fast. It's an armored vehicle, so normally.
Oh, I know, but I mean, like
it's only a SWAT one. Your average, perp isn't going to have a fucking massive rocket launcher.
But it's like it seemed like ludicrous. It seemed like comically slow to me, like because you see it approaching and they're building this missile launcher thing, and you're like, this anti-tank missile, like it's just taking them like half an hour to put together, and this thing's slowly approaching. They then fire on the tank vehicle, and seriously damage it. And McClane is then McClane then pleads to them, like, just let them get out, because he says to Gruber, he's like, look, just let them go, like let them retreat. They're not going to come in now. You've just shot an anti-tank missile at them. I think they get the hint. Let them go. But of course he doesn't do that. And continues his assault. So McClane takes the C4, attaches it to a monitor, doesn't he? I think.
Yeah, a chair and a monitor. I'm still not quite sure what he was really supposed to be doing here,
or how it works.
Sort of,
because he then puts the detonators in there, but they're not connected to anything to start the explosion. So it's a bit weird, but fine, whatever. It's an awesome shot. He throws it down the he throws it down the elevator shaft. I love that moment as well, where he's like, he gets the C4 and he's got the detonators, and you can see he's like, I should probably use a bit of this. But then he's just like, fuck it. He just chucks everything in there. Like, it's like 6 detonators in this whole massive piece of C4. Throws it down the shaft. And I mean, to be honest, he could have killed everyone with this. Like, I mean, it is like, literally, like, you could have killed all the hostages, all the police. Like, it's just like crazy idea. But of course, the explosion blows out the whole bottom half of the building, and kills the people that were firing the anti-tank missile.
Yeah, I'm still not quite sure how, but okay.
No, but fine, whatever. So I think this is where we get Ellis being super dickhead, isn't it? Where he tries to, he's like, I've made $1 million deals. I know how to negotiate. Like, no one can negotiate better than me.
It's that line, Hans Booby, I'm your white knight. It's like, oh, you are an absolute asshole, aren't you?
Yeah, he's such an asshole. He's great. I cannot state enough.
Lived as well.
I cannot state enough how awesome Bochner does
but
in this role.
I will point out, he doesn't give Holly up.
No, he doesn't. But I assumed that he kind of might want to be with Holly.
Yeah, I think so, definitely.
Because like the Rolex and all of that stuff.
Even McClane, I think, says at one point.
Yeah,
he's just after you, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I think in his defense, even though he's a complete douchebag, he could have given up Holly, and he didn't.
Yeah, so he's a complete douchebag to McClane.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, he doesn't tell Gruber about Holly.
No,
we should point out as well that earlier in the movie, because there's a real point of tension in the movie, McClane turns, or was it Holly turns the picture down of her family?
Yes, Holly does.
Yeah, Holly turns the picture down face down onto the table, which is in a lot of the scenes because Gruber's using Holly's office.
Yes.
So obviously the clue.
And at one point, she does look at. She's in the office.
She does. She looks at
it. She looks at it, and he looks over, but he doesn't. He doesn't see what she was looking at first.
No, and I think he was about to investigate when he's called by someone, and he kind of leaves it,
forgets about it.
So Ellis contacts McClane on the radio, and is just an idiot, claiming that him and McClane are friends, and that McClane needs to come in and we can negotiate, we can sort this out. McClane pleads with him, like, you don't know me, like, leave me alone, like, stop this, Ellis.
He's just gonna fucking kill you, basically.
And Gruber is just sat there like, I'm gonna murder you. Like, I'm gonna absolutely murder you. And no one does a better, like, disdain face than Gruber, than Rickman. Rickman is like got the best disdain face in the business. And
he really has.
Properly, he's like, I love how he kind of plays along with Ellis as well, and just lets him
and I think at first it completely amuses him. It's just like a completely little side thing for him. It completely amuses him at first, and then it's just like, oh, I'm bored now.
Yeah. So Ellis is shot and killed, basically.
Yeah.
And what happens then? I think this is so he kills Ellis, and then I think Gruber goes to check the explosives, doesn't he? Is that right?
Yeah. Well, Gleason says that I should say Robert. He's the deputy guy. Says to Powell that he killed him. He's just as good. He's just as good as murdered him. You know, he's not a cop. He's like he's this sort of guy he's in the way and all that sort of stuff.
Yes, and we get that wonderful scene after that exchange with Powell and McClane on the phone or on the radio to each other.
And we get douchebag number 3 turn up. So you get William Atherton.
Who again
plays Thornburg,
plays douchebags like no other. You know, he's so good. I mean, Ghostbusters.
Most famously for Ghostbusters, exactly.
He's super.
And he's the journalist who's like, I need to get out there. I need to do this. And I love about that whole sort of setup is like, he's clearly a douchebag. His boss is a douchebag, and the guy who's on the actual the anchorman guy is clearly a fucking douchebag as well.
Yeah. I did notice as well, rewatching this, not only from the reporter, but also the TV shows that are on in the background.
Yeah.
We're not on like Verhoeven levels of
no, but it does feel vaguely like that, doesn't it?
It definitely the portrayal of the media in this movie is really quite scathing, to be honest, the whole way through. It's not as like in your face as Verhoeven would do it, but there's certainly some interesting negative commentary about the media in this. Or certainly news media at least.
I don't think he likes the police very much either, because most of those are idiots too.
Yeah, or at least authority figures within the police.
Yeah.
So we, I believe this is around the point when we get the conversation between Powell and McClane, where McClane's saying, "Look, I didn't kill him. Like I did all I could to try and save the guy. You know, he was shot. I did all I could." And Powell says, "Yeah, I know." And no, sorry, it's later that we find out about the kid, isn't it? It's later because it's when he's pulling the glass out of his foot. So. So then Gruber, which again, just wonderfully written. It's nice to see villains in the 80s that aren't just morons. They actually have some intelligence. And Gruber heads up to check the explosives on the roof. And that's where he finds McClane. McClane's like pointing a gun at him, and Gruber immediately acts like you would hope anyone with sense would try and act like, I'm like I just work here. Like I'm an innocent bystander.
But on the worst American accent
it's an awful accent, but but also you realise that McClane doesn't buy it anyway. Later, like it's quite clear that McClane doesn't buy it. But you get this wonderful scene where, again, wonderfully framed. You've got Gruber's gun hidden behind a wall, and Gruber tries to move for it when McClane's like, "Where are you going? Like, come this way," and he has to leave his gun. And you get this moment where they share a cigarette together. McClane offers him a cigarette, and then gives him his pistol because he's got a machine gun. McClane gives him his pistol and says, "Have you ever shot this before?" He's like, "Oh, I've shot BB guns." It's like, "Well, this is the real thing now."
Paintball guns, isn't it? He did a paintball thing. He says,
"Yeah." And then, of course, as soon as he's got the gun, McClane turns his back. Gruber pulls the gun on him and says,
just completely drops the act.
He's like, "Drop the act." Then he's like, "Drop the gun," and he says no. Gruber then fires and realizes there's no bullets. Bruce Willis or McClane sort of makes fun of him for it and says, "Do you think I'm a complete idiot?"
A loaded gun,
and then of course we get the wonderful scene where we hear the lift go, and Gruber looks at him and says, "You were saying?" Like, so a bunch of goons come in, and McClane flees and hides in the offices. Big gunfight ensues, and of course Gruber.
We should also say as well, actually, which we've forgotten is at that point, is that Carl, the brother of the one that died on the stairway,
he's on the warpath.
Absolutely on the warpath. He's completely like he's totally threatening to derail Gruber's plans.
He doesn't care anymore. Like he literally doesn't care anymore.
He just wants to kill him for the death of his brother.
Absolutely, he is only interested in revenge at this point, to the point that you wonder whether Gruber might have to take him out. To be honest. Like, it's like he's going to be a problem, because a few times he's like, "Look, once we've got the money, go blow this whole building up, try to kill him. Like I don't care." So Gruber, of course, realized that McClane had no shoes on. He's in his bare feet, and so he gets his goons to shoot the glass, and they shoot all the glass across this entire office floor.
In lines that don't make sense. So he says to him, "Shoot the glass" in German.
Yeah.
The guy turns around and says, "What did you say?" And he says, "Shoot the glass" in English. And you think, these guys are supposed to be German. Why are they speaking English?
Yeah, well, I wonder whether
they don't even understand German.
I didn't know whether it was that he didn't understand German or that he was like, "Why do you want me to shoot the glass? Like, I'll just shoot him. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, why would I shoot the glass?"
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, of course they shoot the glass, and McClane is forced to run across the glass to get out of the room, basically, as they're assaulting him. Which he does, manages to escape, and he hides in the ventilation shaft, and we get this wonderfully tense scene with the goons on the next floor down, shooting and poking their way through the air vents, getting very close to McClane when he's distracted and walks away. It's a great scene. I love that scene.
I think what's great about this scene as well is when you see him. He crawls into the bathroom.
Oh, this is great.
And he's just bleeding everywhere.
Just a wreck of a man.
You just see that he's not Arnie. He's not he's not Stallone. He's not any of those big dudes. No. He's a guy who is absolutely fucked.
Yeah, I mean his white shirt is just brown at this point. He's covered in blood. Really injured. Like I think his arm's really bleeding. His feet are obviously ruined. And we get this wonderful scene where he's pulling the glass out of his foot, talking to Powell, and obviously Powell realizes that he's obviously in a lot of pain and he's not very well. They share a moment where McClane kind of jokes about, what you couldn't handle a gun, desk jockey, and Powell explains that he shot a kid by accident. I think he said it was like he had like a ray gun toy or something, looked like a gun in the middle of the night, and he shot this 14-year-old kid. So that's why he's no longer an armed policeman. That's why he's a beat cop now. Obviously McClane apologizes, but they have a moment where they're like, we understand each other. We understand why Powell is the way he is, and obviously McClane respects that. Also when he's forced to flee, McClane leaves the detonators. So the crew now get the detonators back, which they need.
The detonators back.
So finally, the FBI turn up, who are also dickheads.
And then I was gonna get, and then we get the final douchebag.
Yes,
Robert Davey, who probably, again, although he's been in an awful lot. I think most famous douchebag for him is probably Jake from the Goonies.
Yes, and I'm also sure that there's no way that they're a pair of Johnsons by accident.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, Special Agents Johnson and Johnson, Big Johnson and Little Johnson.
No relation.
No relation. Yeah. Like one of them's black, one of them's white. Tremendous. So they, of course, turn up and won't listen to Powell, won't listen to anyone. Even the police deputy chief's like, guys, this might not be a good idea. They're like, screw it. Cut the power, and not only they're like, well, we can't cut the power, like unless we cut the power to the whole block.
And the thing is at this point is this is the perfect time. This is all part of Gruber's plan, because
so they cut the power.
At this point, they've drilled through all of the locks for part of the safe.
Yeah.
The next part of the safe lock is magnetic, and they can't do anything
about
that.
Yeah.
Which, of course, is, as Gruber says, this is where the FBI come in. They cut the power, they cut the magnetics, and that's it.
He does say earlier in the movie that he's waiting for the FBI. He does say that earlier in the movie. He's like, I'm just waiting for the FBI. So they shut the power off, and that unlocks and disables the final lock on the vault, so the team can collect the bonds. I will say at this point of the movie, I was thinking, like, if it wasn't for all the killing, this would have made such a great heist movie. Like, I kind of like, if it wasn't for their murderous ways, I really wanted to root for this group, because it's such a good plan. It's like, you've got such a good plan.
Yeah, with a few subtle changes, like not murdering all the people.
Yeah,
and
this would be a hell of a heist movie.
Making the corporation more of the bad guy.
Yeah,
it would be a heist movie,
because their plan is really good. It's really good, because at this point of the film, the police and the FBI still think they're just terrorists, because they start making ludicrous demands about
releasing all these
different terrorist groups. And they're completely.
And I love that when he says something about
I read it in Time or something.
Something Dawn. He says something.
Yeah. Yellow Dawn or something. Or
Coral looks at him, was like, "Who the fuck are they?" And he just says, "I read it in Forbes."
Forbes, that's right.
Brilliant.
It's such a good line. So they've completely played the FBI and the police. They're all
but I think this is one of the ways that it doesn't make it such a great heist movie, in that his plan is they get all of the people up onto the roof where they will supposedly escape on a helicopter, and then the plan is to blow up everything on the top floor so that there's so much mess and death and like just general fuck up that they will never be able to sift through all the wreckage to find them, and to find out that they've all fucked off with the money. So it's not quite that.
I mean,
nicest of heist in the end, but
it's not the best plan ending anyway. But up to that point,
certainly not for the people that work there.
No.
We're all going to get minced.
So of course he demands a helicopter, and the FBI oblige, sending 2 gunships.
Yeah. With the FBI guys in it.
Yeah, of course. And
of course,
they said they're like 20% casualties.
Yeah, 20 to 25% casualties.
And he's like, I'm fine with that. Like, fuck it.
Yeah.
Wow.
He says, oh, it's just like Saigon, and the other Johnson says, I was in junior high, dickhead.
Yes. So.
And those are great shots of those helicopters.
They are really good, aren't they?
Really low and through the streets. It's really sweet.
Yeah. So McClane obviously then
he realizes what he's going to do, so he goes up and tries.
So he goes up to the roof.
Yeah, because Gruber sent all the hostages up to the roof, so he goes up to try and get them to come to back down to get out of the way so that they don't all get like blown away.
Yeah,
and he basically fires his gun to get their attention and to get them to fuck off downstairs because they're not doing anything.
Yeah,
and of course the helicopter turns up and sees him shooting a gun and starts firing at him.
Yes, because he's fighting with Carl as well at this point, isn't he?
He's just about to. I think he gets. Or is he?
I thought they were fighting with Carl when the helicopter turns up.
Wrong. You're right. He does. He does fight with Carl, and that's right. That's when he.
It's a wonderful set piece.
Yeah. Because it's a brutal fight. It's not a martial arts fight or anything like that.
No. It's a real messy.
Pounding the shit out of each other.
Yeah, two blunt instruments just going at it.
Complete brawl. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he ends up putting a chain round his neck and throwing and basically pushing him away so that he's sort of left hanging suspended from this chain. Yes. That's when he runs up the stairs. That's when he gets to the roof.
Yes. So during all of this as well, Gruber sees the news report because Thornburg is gone to McClane's house, or Holly's house, I guess, and is interviewing the children.
He's just showing his douche credentials by blackmailing their maid by saying he'll
get her deported, doesn't he?
He'll get her deported. Yeah, he'll talk to immigration basically. It's like, you utter prick.
Yeah.
So of course he says, "Oh, what would you say to your mummy and daddy?" And of course Gruber sees the mummy and daddy thing.
Yeah, and then realizes
that's when he picks up the picture and sees that.
So the hostages are taken up to the roof, and Gruber's keeping Holly with him. And then during the fight, McClane then obviously McClane's having the big fight on the roof. He manages to rescue. He doesn't kill Carl here, does he? He almost kills Carl.
Well, I think you're basically
meant to believe that
he's left hanging from the chain, sort of just like there. Yeah. He's clearly unconscious.
Yeah. So he manages to rescue the hostages just before Gruber detonates the roof, which destroys the helicopters.
And he completely decimates the helicopter. He gets off the roof by using a fire hose to swing out and ends up going through. And I love that, again, it's that shot of him hitting the window and all that blood smearing all over the window. It's like just showing how fucking damaged he is, and he's still leaking.
Yeah, just awful. Well, I mean, there's no way of him stitching anything up, is there? So he is just bleeding the whole time.
He's used this shirt at this point to bandage his foot, but
but it's still bleeding through the bandages, you know. Some stitches are definitely needed.
I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's probably lost more blood than he probably would like to at this point. He's probably in danger of passing out at any moment.
Yeah. So Theo goes to get the getaway vehicle, but of course Argyle by then has been listening on the radio because he was just chilling out, being cool in his limo. He's realised what's going on, and he manages to stop him.
He charges.
Brand new limo.
They're gonna escape in a ambulance.
That's right.
He's dressed as an ambulance guy, and they're going to escape in an ambulance. And he basically just rams it with the limo, gets out and punches him straight in the face, knocks him out cold. It's like even Argyle gets a moment. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it is great. It's absolutely great. So then, obviously, McClane, just probably near the point of passing out, finds Holly with Gruber and the rest of the men.
He's got no bullets left in the heckler. He's got his pistol, and he's taped it to his back.
Yes.
So that they can't see it.
Yeah. So he knocks one of the goons unconscious, doesn't he? And then he manages to wound Gruber and kill the other henchman.
No, yes, he has. That's right. Yeah,
he's got 2 bullets, hasn't he? If I remember rightly. So he's got 2 bullets. He kills one of the henchmen, and he hits and wounds Gruber, and then Gruber crashes through the window, grabs Holly.
Yep. Almost taking her with him.
Yes, almost taking her with him. And McClane, what does he do? Oh, it's her watch, isn't it? It's the bloody Rolex.
He's holding holding on to the Rolex, and basically he unclips the Rolex, and that's when it basically comes away. Which I've heard people say is supposed to be a comment on rejecting consumerism.
Yeah. I don't know about that. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't think that either, but maybe. I mean, it could be. It's it might be that, but I'm not sure I buy it completely.
It's not really a movie that's had like a consumerist slant at all, so I'm not sure I really.
No.
If the whole movie had been set in a mall or something,
more like RoboCop.
Be like, oh, cool. Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's clearly anti-consumerist.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Basically when he's dropping, the director told him that it would be a small drop, and he'd drop him after 3, and apparently he cut the thing early, so it's a genuine look of shock on his face,
and it's a great shot. He looks amazing. Plummets.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. And you compare this to the
RoboCop.
The fall in RoboCop, it's like
night and day.
Streaks ahead is completely brilliant.
Yeah, it's
night
the
RoboCop
and day
one is awful.
So the day is saved, and outside, McClane and Holly meet with Powell. Finally, they meet in person.
Yep.
And
again, first time they'd actually met as well. They hadn't met.
No, they hadn't met. It was just on the radio, just a voice on the radio.
No, the actual actors. They'd not.
Oh,
that was the first time they met as well, apparently. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So it's kind of a genuine moment there. That's good.
Yeah.
Nice. I like that. So, of course, Carl then, not dead, emerges to try and shoot McClane, but is killed by Powell, who pulls his gun. He finally pulls his gun, and that kind of closes his story arc off nicely. Thornburg finally gets his comeuppance as he tries to interview McClane, and Holly punches him.
Holly punches him in the face.
Yeah. And then Argyle crashes through the car park garage in the limo and takes Holly and McClane off.
Which I love. It's just like they just get in the car and just drive off. It's like, no, you don't need to stay and talk to the police or anything.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
I think it's like that dude needs to go to the hospital. He's probably got about like half a pint of blood left.
He is not well at that point. Yeah. But it does feel kind of very like McClane to stitch himself up. Just like take me to your place. I'll stitch myself up and just get on.
You got a sewing kit, right?
Yeah, totally. Feels like a bottle of whiskey and needle and thread, and he'll just make do. Is very John McClane. So that is Die Hard, a wonderful, wonderful action movie. One of the best action movies. Yep. Certainly Western action movies, it's one of the best, I think.
Yeah.
What struck me watching this as well is how much the building is its own character, and it's the set pieces are so good. Like they flesh out this building and the unused parts of the building, the unfinished parts of the building. They use every part of this building. The lift shafts, which we didn't really cover actually. We got that really tense moment with the machine gun in the lift. Which I've
always found really weird. That
it's the worst idea ever.
Climbing down with the strap of the machine gun, which is like, why would you do that?
It looks like mental. The worst idea ever. But fine. But again, he is a fallible person. He's not.
Yeah.
He is an idiot.
That's very true.
He is an idiot. And I think one of the main characterizations or one of the main things I really like about McClane's character is his constant self-dialogue. He's constantly putting himself down, calling himself a fucking idiot. He is great. I love his monologue. His monologues to himself are super.
Or
dialogue. Actually, it's dialogue. He kind of almost has dialogue.
Self-deprecating, isn't he?
Yeah, the whole way.
He's completely knows his limitations. He knows that he should have seen things earlier. He knows that Gruber is mostly outthinking him, every time.
Yeah.
But it's just the sheer determination to carry on and get it done. It's brilliant, and that's it. The whole thing about this movie is like almost every character is well thought of.
Yeah.
Everyone gets their little bit. There's, it's filmed spectacularly well for a standard action movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's such beautiful scenes that in lesser hands would have just been standard scenes, and henchmen who in normal circumstances would just basically stand there and do nothing.
They have characterization.
Get, little foibles. They get little things to do. It's a truly brilliant action movie that stands up and stands apart from a lot of the other 80s action movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
For those reasons. I mean, because McTiernan, the director, who'd previously done, he'd just come off of Predator.
Yeah.
Which is the complete opposite of this.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Full-on testosterone, massively muscled dudes running around a jungle, with a creature.
Absolutely.
This couldn't be further from that. Even though Predator is a great movie in itself.
It's a great movie in its own right, yeah.
But it's this is completely sort of separate from that. It's you almost believe that it's not the same director.
It's a very different movie. You're right, and even in its direction, it's very different. I mean, both movies are extremely well directed. I mean, some of Predator looks gorgeous as well. But yeah, it's very different in its style.
Yeah, and I just looking at what I was trying to say if he'd done anything recently. He hasn't done anything since. Basic in 2003.
Oh wow! And
I don't think I've even seen that.
No, that's John Travolta, isn't it? Yeah, I can see the cover in my head, but I don't think I've ever watched it.
And he did that awful remake of Rollerball as well.
Oh no, that was awful.
But as a saving grace, and even though it's not a great movie, I do love it. He did do 13th Warrior, which I love.
Oh no, I love 13th Warrior. We should do that one day for a movie review.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I really enjoy 13th Warrior. That's a great movie. When they're like, "How did you learn the language?" He's just like, "I listened.
I just sat and listened to you." Yeah,
I love that scene. And when he makes his own saber.
Oh god, that I mean, I know how swords work.
Yeah, but it's great. It's just who cares?
The whole idea of cutting down a long sword to try and make a scimitar is just
scimitar. Yes.
Appalling.
I love it though. I don't care.
No, I do as well. I do think,
it's awful, but who cares? It's a great movie though. It's great fun.
It is.
Of course, followed this up with Die Hard 2. Basically a remake of the first one. It's just set in an airport. A slight twist in it, but mostly just the same. Then we had Die Hard with a Vengeance, which for me is the best sequel in my opinion. I actually really like
Die Hard with a Vengeance.
I love it.
I don't know what it is about it. I've never liked Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Funny,
I actually preferred the fourth one to that.
No, I see that. Yeah, With a Vengeance is my favourite of the sequels. Absolutely love With a Vengeance. I know we talked about this before on the movie show. It's funny, like that we'd feel differently about that one. Then we had Die Hard 4.0 or Live Free or Die Hard, which is okay. It's got some moments. I think
it's got
Kevin Smith in a basement.
Kevin Smith in a basement, and it's got he played Bullock in Deadwood. What's his name?
I'm not sure. Timothy Olyphant.
Yes, Timothy Olyphant. Thank you.
He's great.
Timothy Olyphant is great in it. That he's one of the saving graces of that movie.
Yeah, for sure.
And I still haven't seen the last one. I've not.
Fucking terrible.
A Good Day to Die Hard. I've not seen.
It's awful. They end up in Chernobyl.
I know. I remember
terrible.
your review of it, and I was just at the time.
Really bad.
At the time, I was like, "Yeah, I don't think I'm going to bother."
I'm pretty sure they made the entire movie just so they could use the tagline Yippee-ki-yay, Mother Russia.
Mother Russia.
Like, I think that's the whole reason they made the entire bloody thing. And they're threatening another sequel at some point, or prequel sequel thing. But the first movie is amazing.
Yes, the first movie is an absolute stunner of a film and a brilliant Christmas movie. So
there you go. It is, yeah. I mean, it's got a Christmas score. It's about someone going home to their family at Christmas, as you said at the start of this. It's a Christmas movie, and even if it's not, who cares? It's just a good movie. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
So that's Die Hard. And next time, I think we're gonna. You said you were gonna watch a load of Christmas movies, and we were gonna talk about.
I've started watching the bits and pieces, so I shall be definitely reviewing some Christmas movies, and I've thought about what our next movie is going to be as well for the show after. Well, I was thinking, New Year's.
Yeah.
New Year's will be on its way by then.
It will.
And I was thinking, what movies are set in New Year's? And I was thinking, how about Strange Days?
Oh, that is such a good movie. Yeah, I'm well up for that. I love that movie. Do you know, I haven't seen it for years as well, so I'd actually really like to rewatch that. Yeah, I'm up for that. Yep. That's a great movie.
And of course, another one of those movies that slots into movies set in the future that are no longer the future.
Yes, yeah. But that's fine. I'm definitely up for that. Well, thank you for listening, everybody. We'll be back next time talking about Christmas movies. And yes, until then, take care and stay safe.
Happy Christmas.